Good evening from Battersea, Ontario. Bud here, fabricator for Vin'yet, etc.ca, and I wanted to provide an intro into our next DIY project. The story is that my brother-in-law Billy in New Brunswick came across a vintage warehouse lighting fixture, and knowing that Lori and I are into this sort of thing, he offered it to us. Of course, we jumped at the chance. Not only to repurpose the vintage piece, but we took the opportunity to enhance the overall barn lighting on the property, which is great for starry summer nights. This is how we did it. First things first, we had to determine shade placement and therefore size of bracket required. I held it in slightly different locations and Lori moved around the property to see what position looked the best. We then mounted the light temporarily and waited until night to check on the lighting and shadows and to decide on final placement. We wanted the bracket design to be simple and functional with a heavy industrial look. We decided on 1-inch diameter plumbing pipe and cast fittings, which ensured the bracket would be strong. A chop saw ensures precise cuts at the proper angle. Safety gear is a must. I decided to weld the fittings to the pipes for 2 reasons. One is to ensure that nothing moves, and the other is that no off-site threading of the pipes is necessary. Just cut the length and spot weld.
We're going to paint that silver piece. I'm almost tempted to leave it, but we can't leave the metal because it'll rust, so we're going to protect it with paint. What kind of paint are we going to use, babe? Product guy. Rocker Guard black. So it's a satin finish?
Yes.
And obviously if you're using something like that,
Yes.
do it in a well-ventilated area.
Uh-huh.
Or you'll be like this guy.
On the socket mount assembly, we decided to use smaller plumbing fittings and pipe to ensure strength and stability. The pipe was used to extend the socket by a few inches, so that it would throw a wider angle of light when mounted in the shade. I brought the socket assembly to a plumbing supply store to test fit different options. This negated getting home and something not fitting right. Note the use of gaskets to aid in weatherproofing. We designed it so that the top threads on the fixture would screw into the cast pipe fitting on the bracket. As we wanted to keep the fixture as original as possible, we had the socket inspected by an electrician, and after cleaning were able to reuse it. To further enhance weatherproofing, we used dielectric grease, which is waterproof and enables disassembly in the future. Bracket installation is fairly straightforward. After confirming the location, I installed it without the shade to make it easier to handle. Using number 10 1.5-inch long wood screws, the bracket was mounted at the top with one screw, which allowed the bracket to pivot. Ensuring it was plumb, I marked where the wire access hole would be drilled. Always make sure you know what is on the other side of a wall before drilling. Simply pivot the bracket to the side and drill the 1-inch hole. The bracket was then moved back over the hole and screwed in place. So that we can disassemble if required, the shade and socket was threaded onto the bracket, not welded. As I hadn't hooked up the power yet, I then fed the wires through the horizontal pipe of the bracket and assembled the socket. Once complete, I wired it into the barn power following our local electrical safety code and secured all wiring with wire staples. So, I mentioned that we enhanced the overall lighting for the barn. One of the types of light bulbs that are on the market nowadays, of course, most people are aware of it, is Wi-Fi enabled or Wi-Fi controlled. And the barn was a perfect candidate for this Wi-Fi controlled. It runs about 50 feet from the house, and we can control the lights now on the barn with our phone. That is very cool. As I mentioned, turn it back up, or we can dim them, we can turn them off, we can set them for come on at dusk and off at dawn, and yeah, it's very very cool stuff. So neat upgrade. And I wanted to intro our next DIY, DD! Do it! Do it yourself! Hello, Bud here.
Good God, do you not know who you are? Hello.
You a brave girl, are you?
Dope.
So these light bulbs, you can dim them, you can turn them on, you can turn them off, you can walk away from them, you can turn them off. This post is not sponsored by General Electric.